Every society defines truth by way of someone else's version of history and centuries of evolving agendas. It's passed down through our parents, our teachers, our politicians, and we usually take all of it as a given. But how many of us take that perilous leap of setting out to discover truth for ourselves? Not many. So in March of 2019, we recorded this band, David Boring. They came 8,000 miles from Hong Kong, one of the most expensive and densely populated cities in the world. A place with strict cultural expectations and where the political changes in their lifetime have been massive. All of these things have undoubtedly impacted David Boring's perspective about truth. And we're so honored they let us tell their story in this episode of Shaking Through. Back in June of 2018, I did something I've never done. I reached out to a band almost the moment I saw them on television. There they were, eating chicken feet with Anthony Bourdain on his show Parts Unknown, discussing their current and future freedoms in Hong Kong under the mainland Chinese government.
For the scratch, I will just play the guitar. I won't do my vocals.
Oh, won't do your vocal. Yeah, that's fine, but you'll do your vocal.
Okay, but my vocal is going to have a very high contrast because there's one bit of like actual screaming, and right before the screaming, it was whispering.
I think the main point of your vocal right now
is a placeholder.
So everybody knows where you are. And in fact, the way these mics are right here, they're pointing this way and this way. They're rejecting the drum set so that they sound really far away.
Okay.
But that means it's pointed right at you. So if you screamed, it would not come out.
Should I just skip that bit?
You should,
entirely?
yeah.
I don't want to fuck up my voice either.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah. In Shaking Through, we document artist stories while recording a song with them in a fast 24 to 48 hour recording session. Lately, we've been focused on why this creative expression is so important. So I thought, who better to hear from than a group from Hong Kong where that freedom might be on the chopping block. That's a Fuzz. Fuzz. And Matt loves this company. He loves it. Hey, Matt. He has the Fairfield Fuzz.
I love that company. I have 2 other pedals of theirs.
Yeah, I just bought this one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's like so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though the idea of them coming here was far-fetched, I emailed them to say how incredible it'd be to tell their story.
Cool. Wow, that sounds incredible. And then, am I getting the scratch vocal?
1, 2, 1, 2.
Cool. All right, you guys can start playing whenever you want.
When I asked them why they'd consider coming all of this way, it seemed more than anything, they were really just interested in experiencing new things and meeting new people through their music. Most of them had never been to the US, and none of them as adults. So they figured out how to get themselves here. First, a British label put together a showcase for them in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest. Next, a Weathervane supporter donated money to get them to New York City, where they even booked a very last-minute show. And finally, they came to Philadelphia, where we got to meet them in person and hear about their trip. I'm so psyched that the South by Southwest thing happened for you guys, you know, and made it so you guys could come here. Did you guys go to any other venues, like any other shows?
It's a luxury to have that many choices in the same city. If we want to put on one very simple thing in Hong Kong, it's already a struggle.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
A lack of space, licensing, noise. Like, people complain about noise all the time because everything's so close together.
Yeah.
You're always playing somewhere next to where people live.
Do you guys have to play quieter?
No, we don't really. People just reject us straight up.
Yeah.
So we limit ourselves because we need to play in a certain way. Like, we can't play an acoustic set, obviously.
Yeah. So it has this like awesome, eerie feel and vibe, right? Then when it drops down drum-wise, something empties out, which is great. What would you guys think about possibly like, right when you scream, dropping down a half step in key? And then like there's theoretically possibly like a really advantageous place to then lift back up, like so then it has a key lift. Here, actually play it one more time real quick. So it'd be like, and then down. Though Jason started David Boring in 2014 with Stan, Dave, and their original bassist, Panic Cube, I have to guess things changed a lot when Janice came into the picture about a year or so later. She's an intense performer and a philosopher. She measures every thought, every decision, every action in life against a strict set of internal regulations. On top of all that, she's always straightforward and really not afraid to be stark in her honesty.
I think it needs to be more exaggerated, because I quite like that it sounds really alien, but it also sounds a bit off right now. I think it needs to be more intentional.
Yeah, I think you may be right. Since you're probably, when you're playing before, bending between a half step anyway, you're always playing with some of that interval, so maybe just going down farther. So let's try again. People always say you're either a dog person or a cat person, but if you know how to communicate with cats, it's like knowing how to communicate with like aliens from outer space, you know?
I quite like how they don't really give a shit about you. I really enjoy that. I really like dogs too, but I can't handle 24 hours of unconditional love.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, with cats, they are assholes, so it's okay for you to be a bit of an asshole too.
Yeah, yeah.
We're thinking about adding maybe the styrofoam outside.
The vibes?
Yeah.
It'll actually work in a lot of places. You could actually introduce it where the drums get mellow, and like the guitars will mostly overwhelm it, but it'll just kind of have stuff that's wrong sort of floating about. Why don't you do this? Why don't we go to let it breathe a little bit? So you'd go. The vibraphone is a magical instrument. Sometimes, even the darkest moments in a song can be darker just by injecting something this beautiful into the picture.
As Carl was asking, do you guys have vinyl printed stuff?
Yeah,
Physical
we
means?
had a 7-inch.
Okay.
Okay.
Carl at the front is curious.
Making use of these opposing, even conflicting elements in music is an important concept in our studio, just as it is in all art throughout the centuries.
This is what I aspire to do.
Yeah.
I really like how it's talking about, or it's supposed to be about something really heavy, but they have a really fun way of putting everything together. I just think it's a good way to draw people's attention to something they don't usually want to talk about. There's already enough songs and bands talking about how beautiful the world is, how falling in love is amazing. And I think there's still a huge gap in people talking about things like mental issues or like social problems that are very uncomfortable and might not be safe to say out loud. We want to be very honest about certain darker aspect of what living in the modern world means, to make it actually not attractive, but approachable.
Over the past year, in preparation for this episode, the concepts of beauty and truth continually came up in our conversations with Janice and Jason about life, the world, and David Boring's art. And the word nihilistic, too.
So if people ask us to summarize our music in one word, which I hate to do, this would be the closest thing we are, not punk, not like anti-anything. I'll say it's more nihilistic.
I think the low-level nihilism can roughly translate to like maybe cynicism, and it's very prevalent in our society at the moment.
You're so deeply rooted in the system, and you're so connected to the society and everything around you, but you're so disappointed by everything at the same time, and you can't leave, and you can't do anything to visibly improve your situation.
It's only because you try to do so much that you would somehow realize that there's nothing you can do. But realizing that there's nothing you can do won't stop you to continue to do what you want to do. The music is our way to try to define who we are as a person and to find our own voice.
How'd that feel?
Should be good.
You want to come hear it?
Yes.
All right, come check it out. So what do you do next? You come in back when the drums kick back in?
Yes. The next part, I think I will record in 2 separate tracks.
Okay.
The first one track is like some kinds of riff, and the second one is like melody or noise on top of the riff.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want to start with, the riff or the melody?
Let's start with the riff first.
Okay.
And that's the silent part until the la la.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's odd this hasn't come up yet, but one of my favorite things about this band's story is that despite how terrifyingly awesome their music is and how unwavering they are in their philosophy, these guys all have quote-unquote respectable careers. Dave Cheng and Stan Chik are civil engineers. Jason Cheung is an emergency room doctor. And Janice Lau, she's an architect. Only Jonathan Yang at this point is considering a career as a musician. Maybe.
I really wanted to be a musician or an artist my life. But since I'm in Hong Kong, I'm still trying to find my way of living.
So we all went to traditional Hong Kong schools, went through the system. Even though we're here talking to you right now, we are all returning to a life that is pretty established. That came from years and years of investing your time in studying and your family's expectations.
If this band became so successful that you could give it all up to just be a musician, would you?
I think I would like what I do less if that's the only thing I have.
I love my job, I love my profession, so I have to make a balance and invest time in both 2 aspects.
I don't think it's fair for people to say we're sacrificing one for the other. As much as we enjoy doing this, the other side of our lives is very important. I don't really like to be controlled by anything, so I don't really want to fall into that.
How close do I need to be at this thing?
I have no idea. Just try something.
I think, yeah.
Closer is probably cooler.
Probably closer is better, yeah.
Okay.
Closer will be more distorted, so that'll be cool.
Janice wanted the initial monologue to sound alien and frail. So Matt's idea was to have her sing through the telephone mic, which we then ran through a series of guitar pedals and amps that I played around with while she sang. This was fun.
The white lights bleach our identities.
The song itself is called Machine 3. It's the third in a series of songs that David Boring has been recording and releasing over the past few years.
I survived, but there's not much left of me.
Machine 1 is about the repetitiveness of city life, so we're talking about ourselves. Machine 2, it's more like a, not that subtle social commentary on how
Little orphan creatures
humankind's destroying the world, and at some point we're going to pay for it.
fighting for that last bit of air.
Machine 3, it's, okay, now we have to leave. Like a super nihilistic space travel adventure of leaving the world, basically. Leaving the planet.
Be one of the unlucky ones. She replied, smiling. Darling, we are the unlucky ones.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds like a public announcement.
Should I come in?
Yeah. If you want to come check it out quick, yeah. The telephone sounds like it's like siphoning the voice like in a real small way, so it seems to fit.
No, this is definitely the intention. It is. The song's intention. So
Good.
It's good.
The sky is made in shadow.
By the way, anyone could make a telephone into a mic like this in about 20 minutes.
But there's nothing to be found.
We ended up doing the majority of Janice's vocals with it, and things were moving fast right up until the point where we got to the next section, a despondent duet between Jason and Janice.
I'm drowning in my own mind.
There, we hit a little bit of a wall.
Feel pretty good?
No, it's not like that. But it's supposed to be a very emotional dialogue, and now it's like you're reading from a sheet of paper. Okay, things I can't unseen. Da, 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 da. I know I was asking a lot of him, but because that's a very emotional part of the song, that emotion needs to come through, and it wasn't.
I'm drowning in my own mind.
Cool.
How was that?
It's slightly better. Do you think it's good?
Let's have listening. Let's
Well,
decide.
I just listened when you did it.
The emotion that you are trying to convey is the tiredness and the fed upness of everything. Then you have to help me get to it.
I don't know.
That's
if
what-
I do it, I will be able to make it emotional.
Why don't we try one where
I'll
you
do
do
it.
the lead and you do the response, and then we'll have you switch.
Okay.
And then you'll know what you're doing.
X I can't undo.
X I can't undo.
I get really impatient with these things because I shouldn't need to tell him. He should just know.
We can actually like comp them together and pick all the lines that we like the most.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
What do you think? Is that gonna work?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
So it just needs to be my way, but once you've taken up that role, you have the responsibility to deliver the song the way that is true to the concept and the intent. For me, the singing is not actually the challenging part of the performance, but the delivery. And it's everyone's job to just make the song work.
Sounded pretty perfect.
Then it's done.
Yeah, come on in.
Before that last take, I never listened to the playback until we went back into the studio. So I actually don't know how I sound. And when I go back in and I listen and I figure out what she was trying to say, and I think, oh, that's really flat.
Okay.
But then I know that in that field of flatness, there's me in there.
We're done.
Yeah, let's go to bed.
I kind of want to do it one more go
Of what?
of the vocal.
Of your vocal.
Yeah. I know we've got all those
Yeah.
ingredients on the table, but I just want to try one more take and
If you wanted to do it right now, we could.
Yeah, let's do it.
just one more.
Yeah, go for it.
totally.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure what she is trying to do with her voice and how do I channel it through myself. In that way, I put more of me in it. With all the coaching and instruction, you have to break through that wall yourself in the end.
Hold your breath. Hold on tight.
There's no conclusion to this song. It's just basically a person telling a story in a very bleak way. And there's no judgment, there's no conclusion, there's no like beginning and an end. It's important to not really have a feel that you're on a mission to change the world or change society or change a generation. You just need to do what you think is good what you think is meaningful, and hopefully that reaches out. If the quality of the work is good enough, it will get far. If it doesn't, then it's fine. You're doing something you like.
Sounds like content here.
Personally, for me, I do this to fill my existential void. Definitely not trying to be a rock star or anything, or trying to make money even. That's what the day job's for.
1,000 years of boredom.
But you need to have a reason to keep going, because it's not easy. And it's fun, the struggle is fun.
1,000 shades of darkness.
All of us only get to live once, and you need to make the most out of everything. You don't need to be successful, but you need to make the journey interesting. So when you die, you realize, I lived quite a good life.
One of the saddest parts of this shaking through was that eventually everybody had to go back. Back across the world, back to work, back to life and all the everyday things beyond our control. But this was good. Making and recording music is just like making buildings or making people healthier. They're all important, especially when they can come together and lead us to discover our own truths.
We never talk after we play. This is really off-brand. So we really need to thank you, everyone who are here now, who we worked with the last couple of days. It's been fucking mind-blowing. Thank you.
And Janice, Jason, Stan, Dave, and Jonathan, oh yeah, and Vic, the photographer, we met people we truly admire and that none of us will soon forget. Thank you, guys. Hey, so, David Boring. I don't know many people that would not say that was like probably the best show they've seen. The last thing I guess I'll say, because my voice is super fried, I can't tell you how much it means to me that you guys came all this way for this. It was so wonderful. You guys were so trusting and so incredible. So thank you guys for letting us entrusting us with telling that story. One more time, let's give it up for David Boring, because we can't tell you how much it means to us.